Good morning, students. Today I'm happy to see you, and we are going to learn something today. The thing that we are going to learn is going to question the things, the ideology that you already have. It is going to question the precepts that you already had in your mind. I think the moment we encounter this topic, you will start to question everything, and we will try to find some answers, and we'll try to have something. Okay, the topic that today we are going to deal with, we are going to move on to the new topic, Nature, the Monster. It is written by Margaret Atwood, Nature, the Monster. What is your first thought when you see this title, Nature, the Monster? I think it is something like a paradox, right? Nature, the monster. The nature is compared as monster, or the whole nature is something that is called as something evil. So we have to ask a lot of questions. Does it mean that tree is a monster? Does it mean the flower that you love is a monster? Do you think the rose that is on your head is a monster? If you have the rose on your head, then you are a monster? No, we don't know. So nature, the monster, nature is a word which is general term. So when I say that nature is a monster, it will start to question everything. Oh, then I have to say whether this is a monster. Do you think that this looks like a monster? No. But the topic is nature, the monster. This thing is completely different to the ideology that you have in mind, because our literature mind is something that is molded in British phenomenon. Because for the past 5 years you have been learning literature through the eyes of the British literature. So you have learned something what is nature. The nature is projected to you as something that is good. The projected to you as if it is a beautiful phenomenon. I know that you will agree with it. Okay, can you tell me some of the nature poets that you have in your mind? Because you have already gone through some 5 years. So I think you know somebody as a nature poet. Can you tell some names? Yeah, Wordsworth, of course. Everyone will automatically move to Wordsworth. Shelley and Byron, Coleridge. Okay, very good. We always move to that particular point of era, which is in British literature. What is that movement called? Romanticism, romantic movement. What is the main phenomenon of romantic movement? It is nature. Of course, it is obviously nature. So can you give me the best beautiful definition and the one and only definition that we know? The poetry is the spontaneous overflow of... Okay, can you give me any other definition about nature, about poetry? No, I will not touch on that. So nature is something that is defined as, which is a beautiful, which is a good, which is wonderful. And now we are moving into the topic that nature is considered as something like this. Nature is something considered as evil, something considered as monster. But there is now a controversial thinking. Now there is a different conflict in your mind, whether it is good, whether it is an angel, whether it is a beautiful mother, beautiful lady, or whether it is a monster, because Margaret Atwood has given a topic. So just a small topic has a lot of controversial thinking in your mind, and it is something that is questioning already the precept that you have in your mind. So now we'll try to understand what she's trying to say and what is she's trying to project. And we'll try to create some foundation in this class today. Okay, so what is nature? Written something about nature. This is a beautiful line of Wordsworth. Wordsworth says about nature that to none more grateful than to me escape from the vast city where I long had pined, a discontented sojourner, now free as a bird to settle where I will. Free as a bird to settle where I will. He is considering nature as something that he goes to. He wants to move away from the city, he wants to go to nature. But now the nature is considered as monster. So a little bit contradictory. This is a wonderful, beautiful poem which Wordsworth says that this nature is something that is constant. I think you can read and you can understand. My heart leaps up when I behold a rainbow in the sky. He's seeing a rainbow in the sky, which is a part of nature. And he's always, whenever he sees it, he has joy, of course. Then he says something like this. So it was when my life began, so it is now when I am a man, so be it when I shall grow old, oh let me die. Oh my God. This is a statement that is from the beginning, as a man, now and in the future. So he says that nature is beautiful all time. Nature is beautiful in the present, nature is beautiful in the past, and nature is beautiful in the future, and no one can change it. So this is a very strong concept of Wordsworth. But now we are going to learn a contradictory thing, nature the monster. So something is happening. Okay, let's see. This is also the lines, composed a few lines miles about Abe. He says, nature never did betray the heart that loved her. Oh really? The nature never betray. So how can someone write something like the nature the monster when you have Wordsworth who says that it will never betray? When you have someone who says that nature is something, it is the thing of the past, present and future. So how it is possible to portray something which is completely contradictory? So let's see. So now we are going to learn nature the monster, which is completely an opposite projection. So in Margaret Atwood has written this. Before she has written this chapter, she has given some lines from some other poets, some other writers. I will quote someone like Alice Munro, who says, nature is just a lot of waste and cruelty. Cruelty is the law of nature. Cruelty is the law of nature. So this is in complete opposition with Wordsworth or with the romantic ideology. I think it is something that is opposite to your ideology, because we are brooded and breeded in British nature, because you have learned history of English literature, which is obviously British literature, social history of England. You have studied a paper called Social History of England, which is also something that explains the British nature. So you have learned British poetry. I think you have a separate paper called you had a separate paper called British poetry, British drama, and so on. And also British fiction. I think first year you have studied British fiction, Oliver Twist and all. So this is something different to a literature mind. So what is this? How it is possible? So how to encounter this? How to learn this? We are going to say it. What is this? No, it is not possible. I'm going to teach you something. This is a little bit like we'll move on to a little bit of theory, and there is also a theory behind it. So we will learn about it. So this is something, a small line or 2 lines or 3 lines. This is something that looks like a door, or I can give so many things. It is something, a black mark on a white paper. We can add so on from this thing. But you cannot get a full picture. But now I will give a full picture. What this is, it is something, a part of some other thing. So by just looking at this part, we cannot find what is going on behind it. But when we have the full structure, we know that this is something. So you have to understand one thing. When a precept or idea is taken from some other thing, it will just look like this. But we have to understand that it is a part of something. So we are coming to a conclusion that everything is a part of something. Every bit of ideology is a part of something. In other words, we have placed everything in a box. We will place everything in a box. There are a set of box or something, some ideas or some precepts, something like that. So we will put everything into something, and it will be a part of something. So in nature as monster, nature the monster, it will be a part of something. So romanticism, it will be a part of something. So what I am trying to say is, I will give a beautiful example. So now we are learning survival, Margaret Atwood. It is a part of something, which is the paper called Literature and Ecology. So this portion is a part of something. This is not something that is separate. So in literature, we have placed everything in something. For example, now I am going to write a novel or write a book. Okay? If I write a novel, of course, I don't know whether I will do it. If I write a novel, under which literature it will come? Indian writing. Why? Can I write something which is called as American literature? Imagine that I have learned everything about American literature. Can I write a novel under American literature? Till I die, I have to write Indian literature. Whatever the stuff that I write, because whatever when I place a novel, it will come under a category called literature. We have every person living all over the world has written some books. We have placed everything under a box. If someone writes something in India, we call it as Indian literature. Someone here, Russian literature. Someone here, Australian literature. But I don't know, there are so many countries here, but we have called everything as African literature. So this is something African literature. This is United States literature. No, we will not call like that, American literature. And the most popular British literature. And also there is a powerful thing called Canadian literature. So Nature the Monster by Margaret Atwood must be part of something, and that guy, the perfect man, the William Wordsworth, I cannot call like a perfect man, the William Wordsworth is someone under British literature. So Nature the Monster comes under which category? We will know it even in the cover page of Margaret Atwood. Nature the Monster is in the book called Survival by Margaret Atwood, and this book has a subtitle. What is that? A thematic guide to Canadian literature. So this whole scenario comes under Canadian literature. So that is the reason, that is the only reason why we are having this conflict, this controversial thought. So a person who is in England has written The Beauty of England. He says that nature is wonderful, nature is good. But a person who is living in Canada, he is saying that Nature the Monster. So a controversial thing because of the Canadian literature. So for a person who has lived for 5 years in British scenario or Britain scenario or British literature ideology, Canadian literature is completely a new one. Or Margaret Atwood even will say that anyone who learns Canadian literature from some other literature will automatically stumble and fall. They cannot learn Canadian literature. Canadian literature is not something that is not at all like British literature. So if you are living in India and writing Indian literature or Indian writing in English, whatever. So if you are here and learning and writing something, and if you are going to learn something about Canada and the writers, novelists or authors who are living in Canada, you are going to stumble and fall because it is different world. So we have to learn little bit about Canadian literature. Canadian literature is not at all like British literature because it doesn't have a backdrop, it doesn't have a base, because it doesn't have the foundation, because mostly Canadians are immigrants. So immigrants means these guys come from different parts of the world. They have settled here because at first this place is an uninhabited area. And therefore, after people thought that they can come and live here, people from all over the world came and lived here. So what happened here is, you will have British literature, you will have American literature, you will have someone from India creating some Indian literature. So it is like a mashup of every literature because it is immigrants. And just because it is immigrants, we have different ethnicity, different culture, different ideologies, different forecast in the mind. So what will happen if you put everything in a cup of, in a bottle, and if you stir it, what will happen? You'll get a different thinking. And again, this is one of the phenomenon of Canadian literature. There is no native literature. There is no native literature. So basically, if anyone who is called as Canadian will have a backdrop from some other land. And one more ideology, this Canadian literature is completely covered with landscapes. It is the paradise of nature. It is something that is the epitome of what Wordsworth has called it as nature. So it is somewhat that is filled with landscapes. It is filled with immigrants. It has no native literature. Now let's having little bit thought about Canadian literature. Where I have given some backdrop about Canadian literature so that we could focus something on the Nature the Monster. I think now you would have understand little bit, because it is not a perfect continuation of British literature. It is something that is contrast to British literature, which is something which is contradictory to your mind, your ideology, something that you have in your mind. Okay, let's move on to what she has said. I will give some introduction today, and we will learn something in the next class. Margaret Atwood opens this survival, Nature the Monster, by defining about poetry. What is nature poetry? She is giving a beautiful understanding about poetry. What is poetry? Poetry is something that is on paper, a person who has to sit and he has to write something on paper, which she calls as attitude towards the external universe. It is somewhat, I see something, I perceive something, I see something from the real nature, and I will write it and I will put it on paper so that you could write it. So when you read a poetry, what will happen to you? Do you go to that exact place, or do you create something that looks like an exact place? Of course, the second one is correct, because what the poet has written is the ideology for you. So what will happen? It is an interior landscape. It is not an exterior landscape. Someone has seen it and someone has given to you. So she is giving a beautiful outlook of the nature poetry. And also it is the map of the mind. It is not the real one. It looks like a real one. It imitates the real one, but not the real one, because it is the work of art of the poet. So she gives some beautiful backdrop of what is the nature of the poetry, and she says that in this chapter what she is going to do is she is going to give the different types of landscapes and the attitude they mirror in Canadian literature. So she is going to overwrite, or she is going to expose everything that is in Canadian literature, so that you could understand what is Canadian literature and what is nature, how nature is seen in Canadian literature, so that when you learn something related with Canadian literature, you will understand what is that. Okay, so she is saying that she is going to explain different types of landscapes and also the attitude that the poet has over nature. So she says that nature is something that the poet will see it and he will perceive it, he will write it. So now the Canadian writer is saying that nature is cruel. So what does it mean? The reality is something like that. So they are going to reflect it in the poetries, in their poems. And after that she comes to a beautiful conclusion, or she gives a beautiful fact that this is a picture that is taken from Canada. She says that nature is everywhere. In Canada, when you turn to all sides, what you will find is just nature. You will find nature is written everywhere. And she says that she also makes sure that the only season in Canada is winter. What is the only season that we have here? Summer. My professor used to say that we have 3 seasons: hot, hotter, and hottest. We don't have any other season. Okay, so winter is the only season that is in Canada. So everywhere you will see winter, and she quotes an writer who says that spring is distrusted here, for it deceives. Snow melts upon the lawns, uncovering lost falls, dead leaves. Alan Nolan. The beauty of the writer Margaret Atwood in this survival is she has given she has quoted lot of writers. In her, if you see in your text, she will quote so many writers in every page. So Alan Nolan, she says that spring is distrusted. You cannot trust spring, because the only season here is winter. Okay, now she again goes on to understand, to reveal the mindset that we have about nature, the normal mindset. Not the one who is from Canada, but she says the normal mindset of the immigrant, because these guys are coming from some other land. So when they are coming from some other land, they will have the feeding of the prior literature, the literature where they belong. They will read that literature, they will understand that literature, they have beautiful idea about that literature. So that idea is something that is given to their mind, and they will move on to Canada. So what are all the normal thinking that a poet or a writer has from some other literature, or the immigrants have? The one of the most important thing is when you see that nature, you will be in a wonder, Because when you see the nature, automatically what we do is we will we will feel something like joy, we will have joy, we will have wonder, and what to say, we will enjoy the nature. So this is the beauty of nature, and we also call nature as mother or nurse. She projects nature as mother, because immigrants will say that nature is a mother, nature is a nurse, and also she heightens the ideology of nature, that nature is called as female deity. Even he gives an idea beyond it, like God. Nature is God. Am I right? Nature is considered as God. Nature is considered as mother. Nature is considered as someone who nourishes, because we always love rain, we always love flower, because we always love trees, we always want to plant some trees in our house. So this is how we see nature. But this is the idea of the immigrants who see nature. This is the normal ideology, normal ideas that we have. Nature is considered as female deity or mother or nurse, and also nature is considered as good and cities are evil. So this is also a normal phenomenon that we have. So when this ideology comes and applies in Kannada, this verse is right. This is the word that is given by Margaret Atwood. She says that if Wordsworth was right, Kannada ought to have been the great good haze. So everyone is saying that nature is good, nature is wonderful, nature is something that you have to go. You have to leave everything and you have to go. And also transcendentalist ideology also comes under nature. If you want to know yourself, go to nature. If you want to understand yourself, go and sit near a stream, and you will understand nature, you will understand yourself. Knowing yourself is knowing nature. Know thyself by knowing nature. These are all the ideologies that is given in American literature and also British literature, and also in Indian literature. We are blessed with beautiful sceneries. So this is the thing that we have. If this is the feeding that is given to immigrant, what is Kannada? Kannada is a paradise, am I right? Because nature is everywhere in Kannada. Nature is all over the place in Kannada. Nature is at all phenomena, at all corners. So when you step into Kannada, what will happen? What will you feel? What will you get? What will the emotion that you have? I will give a photo. This is also taken in Kannada. So when you see this, what is the first thing that you have in your mind? Imagine this is a photo, but imagine that you are standing here and watching this. You'll have a chill breeze. You'll have a beautiful some wind blowing on your face. Do you think the moment you reach here, you will say, wow, or the picture is beautiful, or when you go there, it will be beautiful? Oh, really? If Wordsworth is right, Kannada must be the paradise. You know, then Margaret Atwood beautifully portrays it. So a person who is an immigrant, who is living in some other land, is coming to Kannada, because they have the feeding also. They have been fed by their forefathers that nature is good, nature is wonderful. So now they are going to Kannada. And they are going to Kannada, and nature is everywhere. This is a paradise. Do you know what will happen the next moment when you enter here? She beautifully says, you'll have mosquitoes. Mosquitoes not said by Wordsworth. Wordsworth didn't say that when you go to nature, you will have a beautiful bite of a mosquito. So she comes down to reality. When the theory becomes practical, it breaks it. So now she says that when you go there, it will become a trap. Even she says that nature is dead. Even she goes on to, even she will go beyond the ability that we can understand. She will break every ideology that you have in your mind. So this is the phenomenon of Kannadian literature. So nature is good for someone else. So when you come to Kannada, no, don't play with nature. It will bite you. And also when you move on, sometimes it will have the ice will go down and it will die. And she will give a lot of scenario in Nature the Monster. Nature killing people, people are dying in it, and we will learn in the forthcoming classes, not today. So what is happening now? I think there are two emotions right now. Am I right? One is good and another one is bad, and also I'll think you have another emotion when this guy will stop. Okay, two emotions are there. The first one is faith in the Divine Mother. Faith in the Divine Mother, because it is the mother, it is considered as goddess. And another one is feeling of hopeless imprisonment. This is the word that is portrayed by Margaret Atwood. She says that there is a conflict because I believe that nature is God. I believe that nature is a deity goddess. I believe that nature is a mother. So what is the duty of the mother? What is the duty of the mother? She has to feed you. She should not kill you. Imagine your mother is giving some poison in your milk. You cannot understand that. We cannot understand that because a mother is a good mother. A mother is not a monster, and your father is also not a monster. So this is the ideology, but the reality, it is something imprisoning. It is giving a hopelessness. So what happens? Double-minded attitude towards Kannada. So whenever you step into Kannada, you will have conflict ideology. One you have in your mind, and the one that is written down there. So what happens now? There is a conflict between expectation and reality. This is not. I think you can add it also for the real life. Expectation and reality. You expect something, and the reality is different. And also you can apply for marriage also. Expect something, and the reality is different. So there is a conflict. There is a conflict because it is an immigrant land. Kannada is something, a new land, it is something filled with nature. So when someone who is from another literature or learner from other literature comes and learns here, he is a great problem. So that is the only reason that she has written Survival, a thematic guide to Canadian literature. Because it is a trap for it is a trap for other people who are from other literature. So how to resolve this? How to understand this? How to resolve this? So how to conclude this thought? How to answer this conflict? That is a wonderful thing because the answer must be the very perfect answer, and we are going to see it. How to answer? When we are going to see it? Not today. So we will see it in the next class, how this conflict is going to be confronted. So I think now you have got some base about the nature of the monster. It is from the Canadian literature, and we have the of British mind. So that is the reason that there arrives a conflict between the expectation and the reality. Okay, guys, I think that you would have no questions, so I will not ask. Do you want to ask any questions? You want to ask any questions? I think you are completely clear. Okay, thank you. We'll meet you in the next class. Thank you.